Welcome back to In the Arena podcast. And in this series, we are teaching you as a business owner the tools that you need in order to scale your business and your life. And in this conversation, we talked with Jason Navarre, who is one of the handsomest people I know, but he's also one of the only people that I know that has a very, very clear and distinct purpose for his life and for his business and just who he is in general. And he has very intentional tools that he utilizes, and he teaches people those, and he talks about them here on this episode. Tune in. You will learn, and you will become a more intentional human being by hearing what Jason has to say. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. The credit belongs to the man who is in the arena. Dare greatly and build intentionally. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. We are now talking with good friend. I'm probably closer with you than anybody else in this room, so I'm really excited to have you on. Jason Navarre, who happens to be Lauren's husband and also a good friend. And
was that roll?
Yeah, a hunk, but a real inspiration to a lot of people. And if you haven't tuned into Jason's social media accounts, I highly recommend you follow him on social media because he will inspire you not only today but every day on a social media account. Super excited to have you on, buddy.
Thank you, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah. If you go back to like 2019, you can go back some real good content from me and Jay when we first got it in Jonah too. Like really early on in the video days where we had some real good
really
stuff.
Loud conference room.
Yeah.
Echoes, but we were still
We did it.
doing the content.
Content is content.
That's right. That's right.
But the beauty of that is that we've been saying a lot of the same things over the years, and we've gotten more dialed in and clearer on what we're trying to say. And you've been working through what your purpose is for a long time. And these episodes, the first 3 that we're going to be doing this month, are all about identifying what your God-given purpose is, right, and who you are as an individual. And you have a unique perspective, right? We had Marianne Rodriguez on, who has a creative element of her purpose, and then Coach Dunn, who is a high school football coach, and he's been doing it for a long time. A lot of impact that he's made. You have worked personally on yourself, and now you're trying to share that with the world. So I'm excited to kind of tell your story and how you kind of work through some of the tools that you actually practically use. So, I think the first thing to kind of get started with, I think, not to kind of dive right into the sensitive stuff, but let's do it. We talked about how your life at an early age started you on the journey, and you say it's all part of your journey, and it's a good thing, and it all is part of who you are. Right. So let's talk about who you are as a kid and how that kind of started you on the path of finding what your purpose is.
A heathen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're still that.
Yeah.
And now we have 2 of our own.
That's right. When Lauren found me.
Yeah. In the trenches.
I didn't own a collared shirt.
Also true.
Yeah.
Facts. I actually remember being in college and needing to go to an event, and I had to call someone and say, "Hey, bud, you dress kind of nice. You mind if I borrow one of those shirts?"
Was he a tall, lean man, or at that point you weren't tall and lean at that point?
Yeah, I went about 230 at the time.
Big guy.
Had a little meat on me.
That's how he got me, ladies and gentlemen. That 230, Jay. 235.
But you talk about it, right? And your JanSport backpack's not in here, but that's a big symbol of who you are as a person now, and it relates back to what you were as a kid. So I want to talk about this you as a young kid.
Sure.
Like, what was that experience like, and how did that start shaping you who you are today?
Yeah, great question. So if we go all the way back, the upbringing was what I would probably call, as a kid, you would probably call it less than ideal, right? So in talk the other day, I asked the question of how many people as a kid would choose their parents as their parents. And some people actually raised their hand, which was awesome, right? Not this guy, right? As a kid, living in the environment, experiencing the things that I experienced, watching what I watched, I couldn't say that, right? Fortunate that I'm here today to be able to have the perspective I have now, which is every single one of those challenging experiences in some way or another contributed to how I show up today. I would say it doesn't define me, because a lot of people kind of live with this idea of, right, your past, you are an accumulation of your past experiences or your accumulated thoughts. That's not true. They shape you. They don't define you. So the important process that I went through, if this is what you're asking, is to appropriately accept that every single one of those challenges, whether it be verbal abuse, whether it be physical abuse, whether it be sexual abuse, regardless of what the experience was, is part of my story, but it doesn't define how I show up today. And I had to get to that place.
Yeah. And at what point, whenever you were a kid, did you realize that this is not ideal? Like, did you have that feeling early on, or were you kind of in it from whenever you were, as early as you can remember, so you had to come to realize that this is not ideal?
Sure. So very early on, also I think it's worth sharing, I was just innately born with an obnoxious amount of energy. Okay. So it was a real life challenge.
Still today.
Yeah. It's tame today. So an obnoxious amount of energy that I didn't really handle well. Right. And so I couldn't do really normal things like go to the grocery with my mom. I couldn't participate in normal stuff because I didn't have this like internal self-regulator that would help me to control myself. I was preparing for something recently and I asked my mom for some pictures because I have a vivid memory of a team photo, soccer team, 8 or 9 years old. Everyone in the picture is looking at the camera, smiling. Me? I'm doing this. Randomly, and I timed it purposely, like I wanted it to be like this just obnoxious performance. And so that was kind of innate in me, but it was my environment that really stood out to say that it's not normal. Addiction was apparent in the home very early, and watching that close up helped me to realize that I didn't want that to be my life. I saw some of the behaviors, saw some of the things that went on, and it was basically a grace because no 5-year-old, no 7-year-old should probably have enough awareness to say that's not how I want to behave. But for whatever reason, my interaction with my environment was, I don't want this. And so as a result, I was super excited to go to school. So I woke up early and went to school, and I was pleasant and wild, but it was a happy place for me often wasn't, at home. Doesn't mean my parents weren't loving. They were great. For sure. But just in a real difficult way, they were processing their own trauma and their own pain at that time as well.
So, but did you ever get tempted with substances?
Absolutely.
To say like you tried out that part of life, or was it whenever you saw it at a young age, you never even got tempted by that?
So both. So it was presented to me, obviously. It was embedded in the environment I grew up in. So I'll tell it both ways, right? So of course I was exposed to it. It truly is a miracle that I lived in the neighborhood I lived in, that I grew up where I grew up, and that I'm sitting here with you right now, not an addict.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
When some of that kind of social media stuff and like all this racial conflict business was going on, I scheduled some time and I made it a point to reach out to one of my friends who is a principal of a school. I went and visited with Stephanie. And I just told her briefly, not that she needed all the context, I just told her briefly a little bit about my upbringing. And being a principal of a school that my neighborhood fed into, she goes, oh yeah, someone's probably ODing in your neighborhood right now.
Dang.
And this is years later, and it just didn't change.
Yeah. So. But I mean, Jonah, not to speak for you, but chime in whenever you're ready, because I know that you've had similar experiences in your life, and not that it was in my home, but I remember I wasn't that young when I recognized what substance abuse was, but I have my mom's side of the family struggles with that as well, and I remember several of my uncles who were not much older than me having issues with that, and kind of realizing where the boundaries were, right? Like I saw them as role models. So like, it was almost like you'd be around them whenever they were having a good time and you wanted to be a part of that because it seemed fun.
Sure.
And then when you saw the consequences of it, you kind of knew there was a boundary that they had crossed that you weren't comfortable with crossing. So you always try to stay, at least from my perspective, always had a reason to not cross that line. And it almost kept me close enough to it to know what it was like and to try to and dabble in it as I was growing up. And now to realize that at my age that I just have it doesn't serve me for what I'm ultimately here to do. Right. So and people ask all the time, like, why don't you do those types of things anymore? It doesn't serve the purpose that I'm trying to provide for my life, my family, for my partners. And it does not have any desire for me. So I get the perspective. It's just interesting that, I was lucky enough to not be in that environment all the time. Like my mom and dad did not have, was not our home environment. So I at least got the safety. And my mom literally every day pulling me back to like be that person for me that kept me from crossing that line, right? Like if it wasn't for her, my friends always were like almost scared of my mom because she was so strict on me. But if you know my mom now, you're like, she doesn't seem like that type of a person. She knew to protect me, she had to be that person. And she was almost the rock that kept me out of potentially dying at certain points in my life.
That would be your mom's sister,
my
right?
mom,
Because your aunt or on your mom's side
they had the
so
issues.
Mom's like sisters, brothers.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's probably a huge reason too.
Because she saw
She
her.
lived it.
Yeah. She saw her brothers in me, and for the positives and the negatives, and my tendency to try to follow in their footsteps. I'm the oldest of 4 boys, the oldest grandkid. So like I didn't have older siblings to look up to. Her brother, who was 5 years older than me, was the person that I looked to as that person. I was like, and it wasn't always the best person to look up to.
I think it's beautiful though that as kids y'all knew right and wrong. Like you could still discern and see it as this doesn't seem quite right. Like to me, that's like the presence of God, right? That's it's proof that we just innately have right and wrong. And then I also think it's that we joke all the time with Jason and all the aspects of his life, because there literally could be a movie about it, that there's like this cloak of protection that he's always been granted. And I think part of what we didn't talk about in your past is those families and those moments that you were exposed to a good environment that helped you discern right from wrong, whether it was your teachers being loving and that's why school was a safe place for you, or grandmother. We can't not mention Helen. That's his heart. Before me, of course. She can share it with me. Helen, his grandmother, was a safe place. And then playing soccer. Like he was so good at soccer that his friends would be willing to take him because they want to win, right? And so he got exposed to those good families when he was traveling with them.
Which is my point of saying, bringing my mom up, because she was my dad too, right? Great role model, but my mom was one who was every day like beating on me, literally, to keep, and in a good way. Like you need to make sure that you stay on this side, right? And so that's my question. Obviously your in-laws and your Lauren's family have been an impact on you, but all the other people in your life at a young age, coaches and all those people, how did they help shape you in the other direction, right?
Sure. So, man, that cloak of protection started before that, though, right? Because I had that level of awareness even before I met some of these really, really influential families in my life, and it was really just a grace, dude. It really was early on, right? Early on, it was that, and I would almost say that it was something that I was running from mostly, right? And I didn't realize it was that at first, right? Running from and also running to, right? It presented itself as adrenaline junkie, right? It presented itself as, I guarantee you I will swing from the highest rope swing that exists. I guarantee you that I can jump from the highest cliff that exists. Dude, we would climb. So there's a bridge between Louisiana and Mississippi that's on the West Pearl River. It was a bridge that cars drove across this way. There was all these different collection of stuff that had this little radio tower on top of it. So you have the bridge, which is about 20 or so feet above the water. Then this radio tower that sits on top of the structure. I would climb on top of the building, on top of the bridge, and jump into the river.
No, you do a gainer. That was Jason's first profile picture on social media when we were in college. Facebook came out, dating ourselves, and he's upside down, backwards, falling off of that.
How deep was that water?
Probably not deep enough.
Deep enough to where you barely hit.
Yeah, okay. So you
you
were like, what, like 40
But he
feet in
did
the
touch
air?
the bottom.
We did actually hit sand.
Good Lord.
Yeah. But I was smart enough, even though I did risky things. And the girls are, they're like, I don't ever say be safe, right? That's never, like if you're mom and dad, yeah, be safe when you're doing safe travel. No. Do the riskiest things possible, but do them carefully.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell the girls.
Doesn't roll off the tongue as much, but I like it.
Right.
But he's not lying. So,
Right,
our
right.
girls,
Carefully.
I get pictures when we were in Nashville this weekend and they ran in a race and, moms are sending me pictures like, is this okay? Because Jocelyn's at the top of the tree.
It's calculated
It's like a bunch
risk.
of boys below her and she's, at the top. And, at first when Dylan came out, I'm like, oh, she's just like, nope, we just create the kids that are like, nope, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to challenge it.
I love it. I love the idea of letting them test limits. You got to figure out what your limits are.
Just do it carefully.
Another thing that kids give me a hard time about, and Jocelyn brings this up often, is
He loves it.
the way that we would use a freight train as transportation.
Because it ran in his backyard.
So we lived on the railroad tracks.
awesome.
The only thing separating my house from the railroad tracks was about a 50-yard field of dirt. And so we would catch the train by running alongside it, jump onto the ladder, and let it take us down to the pond that was, a mile or so or however long down the way. And Jocelyn.
She'll be
Loves
telling
it.
somebody something. They'll be like, hey, yeah, my dad. She's like, my dad jumps on moving trains. And she'll walk away.
Mic drop. So let's move. So let's move on beyond that. So as you got older, you started to develop some of these habits and tools that have kind of shaped you who you are today, right? So you had that experience as a kid, and you were starting to process some of this stuff, but it wasn't until you got older, right after college, really where you started utilizing some things that really helped you identify what your purpose is.
That's right.
And so let's just talk about what your purpose is and how you work through those things and the tools that you use.
Sure. So my purpose is to create space for other people to realize that what I've already mentioned, right, is to create space for other people to realize their purpose, that every single experience that they've ever had in their life was meant to happen, regardless of whether you agree with that or not.
Whether it was painful.
Whether it was difficult, whatever inherent past you have was meant to occur. Even if the only reason it occurred was so that you might be relatable to someone else who has had a similar challenge, and they would have never opened up to you or anyone else unless they knew that you had a similar experience to them. And so when I look back and I go, wait, so that thing happened, I never told anyone. I never told anyone in my home. I never reported the incident. I've never really, quote unquote, come clean to anyone about it, but it sits with me in a way that I can look back on that experience in a healthy way. And what do I see as that healthy way? I get to sit with someone who may be part of a less than wonderful situation, that they have pain, they suffer, they're just so beat up about it. And until I'm willing to be a leader from the front and give them a little taste of what my experience was, only then do they feel comfortable enough with saying, oh, well, maybe it's not so bad that I share said incident. And again, obviously not being graphic here, but the idea is just in those one-on-one moments, the comfort level that I've developed with processing those things is apparent to that person, and it gives them the space to be able to be freed from whatever their thing was.
Yeah. So what are some of those tools you've used to do that?
So some of the tools that I've used is a heavy, heavy dose of silence. So most people that you come across get antsy, get nervous, get kind of unsettled when music's not on or when the conversations, the space is not being filled by noise. I was very much that person. I told you how wild I was. My version of avoiding that silence was to get naked. Okay?
Tell me more.
I'm serious.
He was the first naked guy at every party in high school.
Like
If there was a
winding up.
yearbook category of most likely to get naked, guaranteed, my picture's the whole page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Creates a little bit of noise.
Yeah, create the noise, right? So
created some
I
noise.
would have to do whatever was necessary to disrupt or disturb that silence. Okay, so that was the past. Realizing how unhealthy that was
To be naked all the time.
to be naked all the time.
It's hard
But
to get work done.
But there's also a beautiful analogy in that the exposure is actually the path.
Are you trying to go deep with that?
Healing. Yeah, I did just go deep.
I mean, yeah, you are. That's like the most naked part of yourself.
That's
when
exactly
you, like when you're naked, but also
When you're naked.
when you have silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the challenge that most people have is that when they sit in that silence, what presents itself in that silence is oftentimes not comfortable. It's those experiences from our past that we haven't processed properly. And when they represent themselves in front of our right now, we experience them again, not in an accepting, objective, understanding way, but everyone who has these unprocessed traumas suffer back through that experience again, and all the same emotions, all the same hurt comes back up. But before you're able to lean into it and let it completely work itself out, you close the door, you run away, and then so it's still stored in there. And so it's only dormant until the next time that it comes up. Until the next time that it comes up. And so to answer your question, I've developed a process to where daily and consistently I have committed to spend time in complete silence on a pattern every single day before the sun comes up.
And just you say silence, you're not meaning meditation, right?
But both.
Yeah.
So silence in general, yes. A form of meditation.
For a form of meditation that I was taught is to be quiet, try to clear your brain, focus on one thought, where you have one thing that you're processing, that you're kind of focusing on during your meditation, and trying to bring your mind back to that. Is that part of the silence where you're like something that's happened that's eating at you, or something that comes up from your past, and you sit and you process that, and you kind of look at it and think about it in different angles and ways and perspectives to try to work through why it happened and what the purpose of it was and how it makes you a better person? Is that part of that silence?
So it's not first of all, there's 1,000 different methods of meditation, and you can look into the East, and I've done quite a bit of studying, and you'll hear all of these different ways. Focus on your breath, focus on this one experience, focus on, they'll tell you all these different things to focus on, but part of why I even avoid the word meditation, okay, and I'll explain this, is because also where I've grown to, what I feel like is part of my purpose, is to help people remove the labels, okay? And so when you hear the word meditation, something comes up for you. You have some type of reaction.
Some opinion.
A
Of what meditation
presupposition, right? You have some type of predetermined thought about what that means. With silence, it doesn't carry as much predetermination, right? You don't have an experience with the word silence the same way that you have with meditation. When you hear meditation, you might have an image of some yogi in some underwear sitting cross-legged, with his eyes closed and his hands open like this. In my experience, just using the word meditation to refer to it is a hindrance and a hurdle to someone being open to silence being an opportunity for them to heal.
Yeah.
So I avoid that. Same story with prayer. As healthy as prayer is, and as comfortable as I am with using the word, I use the word prayer all the time. It's developed into a regular part of my language. But do you know how many people won't accept even the word prayer as being a potential solution to their current challenge?
100%.
Even though it would help them?
Yeah.
And so?
Because they think they've tried it because they've recited something. Again, going back to the labels and a predetermined idea of what prayer is, rather than it being a spiritual conversation, an internal reflection, an ability to listen, to what the Holy Spirit's calling you to do.
Yeah. And we've gone on had the same experience in Comet, Louisiana, where you sit down and I've gone a couple different times, and it's a 72-hour period of silence, right?
Right.
And I have gone on different types of retreats, and whether it's professional or spiritual, and you go and there's always of somebody leading you through that. And there's different ways, right? There's a lot of community type retreats. There's sharing, and then there's on the other end of the spectrum, there's the silent retreats where you are in silence, right? And the one in Manresa, the reason I like it so much is because you're not being told how to experience the silence, right? It's here you have lectures and they teach you, they give you some fuel for thought, and but there's no expectation. It's like, how do you will process this in the way you want to process it, right? So it's in a similar way, instead of taking your past and meditating on or silence on it, you're having more intentional thought on different things when you're at that experience. But it's just when you get to experience that type of silence where you don't have any expectation of the interpersonal relationships around you, it's just you and your existence is there, and that's the whole point of it. And you give yourself that space. It's amazing the things that you process in your head, good, bad, indifferent, just experiencing that. And the fact that most people have not experienced that type of silence in that time, it's something you have to do. I feel like maybe you don't have to do it, but it's something that I highly recommend that you get to experience sometime in your life, because you never know where you're going to go with it.
And I think it's especially important in today's environment. I don't think people realize how much of their own personal discontent and stress is not attributed to something tangible in their lives.
Yeah.
Right? It's not your job. It's not your coworker. It's not your partner, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend. Like, it's your own noise. And the only thing you can eliminate is your own noise. And unfortunately, our environments are no longer set up for ease of silence. Like, think about back in the day, right? It would just say like, oh, granddad's out on the porch. That was a silent time, but he could do that. I mean, how many of us have porches that don't have a cell phone on them, right? Don't have access to the internet.
Or a little toddler just
Or a little
curling up
toddler,
at the old legs.
right? Or the beautiful, which we love from a business perspective, but social media. And it has wonderful personal attributes of, keeping up with people you love that you moved away from. Like, there's so many good things that we can focus on it, but it also is noise. And so for me, if you're not intentional about that silence, then you never calm the chaos. Like, I'm so tired every day. I'm working until like I pass out. He'll probably laugh. He laughs at my light, cute snore.
It's so
Correct?
it's
Okay.
it's so incredible.
I might snore sometimes
excited.
in
It's
a cute
very
way.
light.
I think,
But it's like
yeah,
immediate,
The
you
thing
know?
is
And
it's not a snore. It's a purr.
it's
Is
a
it
purr.
Oh,
I purr.
yeah, Lauren purrs.
But twice now.
I'm making that noise.
But honestly, like, that's not even, I don't know about y'all, but like, I'll keep my remarkable because I'll wake up with ideas in the middle of the night because my brain just continues to solve problems. Thank you. I don't ever want to stop it from doing that. Like, I love that about my brain, but sometimes it needs rest. And so if you're not intentional with that rest, you can't have it.
So I want to go back to answering the question that you asked a second ago. Is there a form of meditation that I recommend? Yes. The one with the least amount of restriction.
The one that you're willing to try.
The one that you'll start and that will get you to sit.
Yeah.
So you, and it was so great, the feedback that I got from speaking the other day, because so many people had great constructive feedback that helped me to develop this. And so the anchor habit, okay, what components are necessary in anchor habit? Silence is a key piece of that, right? So you have to be in silence. The consistency of it has to be a daily thing. The reason it has to be a daily thing is because we are creatures of habit. You have to, we have all been conditioned in the way that we show up right now. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not defined by my past, but I am shaped by my past. And so as I've allowed those things to develop in my life, the result is what you see here, if left unchecked. Meaning, if I haven't taken any time to assess how that certain experience has shaped who I am and processed it, then I'm going to show up, as a default version of whatever my experience was, as opposed to a customized version of how I show up today.
Ooh, customize, Zaddy.
That's
I
right.
like that.
And so silence is necessary, the consistency is necessary, and then movement is necessary, right? So you move your body. There's something inherent in how we move our physical body that stimulates and triggers the activation of our just awareness to say that I am fully present. And it connects with this idea that if someone's just sitting there, you can wonder what they're thinking about. Maybe a portion of their attention is somewhere. They're thinking about something yesterday. They're thinking about something tomorrow. If you watch someone run, yeah, their mind can run. But a lot of times, the use of their body collects the majority of their attention into what activity they're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
My legs are hurting. I'm currently burning calories, right? And I'm either pressing myself further or I'm leaning off. I'm focused on my breath. You're focused on a lot of physical elements of the activity that you're involved in that doesn't allow for your mind to dwell on the past, or it doesn't allow for your mind to be overly anxious about the future. So it inherent in the movement collects your attention to the moment.
Pain is the presence.
Yeah.
Whenever I go on a run, I tell
Ooh, that's
myself
good.
that. I'm
I
like,
like
pain is
that.
presence, Jonah.
Yeah.
And then I stop listening to music, which is why, like that's my thing I've been doing lately. I used to listen to a lot of music. Now I don't listen to music. It's just quiet. It's just the thump of my feet. And when it starts to hurt, I go, pain is presence. You're here because you hurt, but you're like, it's the most that I feel currently in the moment that I'm in is when I'm running and I'm out of breath,
And
but I
that's
like
removing
keep
the
going.
noise.
Yeah.
I think one of the things you told me
Yeah.
though about, because Jason's anchor habit is running,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one of the things he told me is that when he runs away from the home, it's a purge. And when he makes the decision to run back, it's accepting all the graces that are going to be given that day.
That's good.
And that was a turning point for me, right? And it doesn't matter what it is. Jared does push-ups, right? It could be I'm doing 60, the first 30. That's my purge pushes, right? And then the rest of them, you can totally same motion, but all of a sudden you're accepting things, when you're going down rather than purging them out. And that mentality has helped me immensely, whether I'm just sitting there, whether it's a walk, whether it's, cycling, whatever it may be, but a purge and an acceptance
Yeah,
is really
that's
important
good.
on a daily basis.
So the first tool we talked about is silence, right? That's kind of like the 1.0 version. And then 2.0 is this anchor habit idea of like developing a deeper version of silence. But I guess, you running is your anchor habit, right? So you do it in silence every time. You do it every day.
Yep.
You've done it for 9 years.
Yep.
And your active element of that is to actually run. But that doesn't take up all your silent time, right? Like you're also spending more time in silence outside of your anchor habit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's
When I
important.
can't find him,
Yeah.
to help around the house, silent time.
Yeah. I understand.
I'm kidding.
But
No comment.
Yeah, no comment. So I get the
Guilty.
The
Choose silence.
Guilty.
The silence is clear, right? So I mean, if we're talking about the anchor habit aspect, right? I like the silent time you're spending separate and apart from like the anchor habit stuff. Silence is clear. The daily habit, right? You talk a lot about how that daily habit is something that's so small that you're doing every day that you can almost trip over it and do it without even having to really make that much effort. So it's that much ingrained in your day that you have to. It's almost like it's almost, you don't have to, but it's something that's so easy that you almost can't avoid it, right?
Right.
So, and am I hitting that, or is there more detail to that?
No, I don't need for there, and no one needs for there to be more detail than that. The only explanation that I typically give is your initial experience with a new habit, it can be perceived as a hurdle. Okay? So imagine a hurdle waist high. It would be pretty difficult to get your foot up over that hurdle, and most people probably don't have flexible enough hips to get over that. But also, hip flexibility is extremely
It's
important.
important, I agree.
For many areas of enjoyable life.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Are you going to do the weird thing you do during volleyball games?
I can do whatever you want me to do, baby. You call the shots. So if that hurdle is hip high, then it's a certain level of difficulty, and that level of difficulty often discourages people from ever starting. Okay, well, let's make it a little bit easier. Let's say that it's only knee high. Okay, a little easier. Let's ankle high. A little easier. Let's say it's just a cone, soccer cone that's sitting on the ground where you could easily take your foot. That's still not small enough. I want you to imagine a dowel that's a size of a pencil, that all you have to do to get your foot up over it is just pick up the front of your toe and slide it over the top of that dowel. That's how easy I want it to be for you to accomplish your daily habit.
10-minute walk.
10-minute walk. If anyone ever tells me they don't have time for a 10-minute walk, my only logical response is, you're lying. I don't care if you have 10 kids. You have time for a 10-minute walk.
And I have something to say to that too, but I want to continue on the train of this. So like silence, dowel high, hurdle. right? Very small.
To build confidence.
Yes.
To build confidence, because
Prove to
It's a
yourself
stepping
you can
stone.
do
it
it.
doesn't mean that that's the only hurdle that you'll get over that day. It just means that that's the minimum acceptable hurdle that you absolutely will never compromise.
Yeah. And you know, there's something like, Kobe Bryant always talked about how when you stack up wins like that over your life, over so many years, it's to the point where you're so far beyond the person that you were if you're just comparing yourself or
can't
anybody
catch
else.
up.
You can't be caught up with, right? And so like that accumulation of wins in your life that you get to feel, that you get to hold on to, allows you to get confidence that you can carry forward, right? That's what my push-ups do for me every morning. That's what making my bed does for me every morning. And like my kids roll their eyes at me, like it's like it's who I am. It's like I have to do that before I leave my house because it is the wins that I want to be able to put in my pocket and then what I want to be able to go to bed with at night. No, they're non-negotiables for me.
Culmination of experiences.
Yeah,
That's
for
what
sure.
It is.
100%. And I think that, another concept to this idea of it being so easy that you can roll over it is that this baseline that you move your body to or yourself to from whether it is that floor to above that dowel or to that knee-high hurdle or the waist-high hurdle or to jumping over, the high jump, you're creating that baseline in your life that is more than what it was if you weren't doing that. And so when you go and add the additional habits or the other things you do in your life, you're already at that higher baseline. From a fitness standpoint, right? If you do 10 push-ups or 10 sit-ups or 10 air squats, whatever it is a day, that's your baseline. It's not even part of your routine of fitness. It's what is there every single day. And now you start from that platform. Mm-hmm. And so people feel like they got to jump into those habits. Like you said, that's way too big and it's hard and you feel burdened. And the first opportunity you get to pull off or that you're tired, you stop doing it. Mm-hmm. But if you create that something that's so simple that your baseline and who you are becomes that, now you have this platform to be able to jump off of that's way farther than it would have been if you started with nothing.
Sure.
You right?
So one concept that I've shared and spent quite a bit of time with is this idea of falling short on the promises that we make to ourselves. Okay. And so it's human nature that as we participate in life, certain days will be more challenging than others. And in the depths of those more challenging days, it's likely that we tell ourselves some type of story like this. I swear, if you get me out of this one, I will never do X again. Or if we could only get past this one challenge, then I'll never do. And we make all these promises that we'll never do something again. But fast forward a week and you're doing that same thing again. I don't think we realize as people how that impacts how we show up following that point. We don't realize the negative impact that has on how you carry yourself. So a remedy for that is to establish an anchor habit. And so when you compound that calm, when you compound that peace of mind that you've built over all of those days, when you show up 90 days from now, how would you feel differently if you kept 90 days of commitment? When you show up 180 days from now, when you show up 365 days from now, having kept daily promises every single day, how different do you feel when you show up? Mm-hmm. A completely different level of confidence.
Even if that thing is
even if it's that small.
And then you're going to show up differently for your family, for your friends, at work. I don't think people realize the impact that has on how down they are on themselves.
Yes.
Is, people are like, oh my gosh, you can be scary. I don't have to be scary with anybody. Everybody's already pissed off at themselves. They're already disappointed in themselves. Right. I don't even have to say anything. It's just like, well, remember we decide, oh, yep, okay, you remember, right? And they're the ones not processing that. They're the ones not showing up for themselves.
I saw a bumper sticker the other day that was so accurate, but also it just crushed me. It was disheartening at the same time. And it said, please don't honk at me. I'm probably already crying.
Yo.
Oh.
Yoinks.
Did we give her a new bumper sticker? Or him? Y'all be crying too.
Jeez. Yeah. That's, and it's so true that and my buddy who was in college told me this one time. He was like 18 years old. So it was like, he was ahead of his time with this thought. He's like, you cannot judge your insides by other people's outsides because you have no idea what they're processing.
We've talked about that. Everyone's fighting a battle that you will never know about, right?
hopefully they know about it because they spent time in silence. I mean, that's what the point I'm making is like, yeah, of course we don't know because humans as a whole aren't spending enough time to work through their own challenges that are holding them back or the environments that are holding them back or the people in their lives, right? And I say holding them back, it's still their choice, right, to work through.
So let's talk about the third element of the anchor habit. So we've got the silence part, the daily activity part. Then you have the you said the action, the actual movement part. So you do your running. You talked about people at 5 minute, 10 minute walk being it could be part of your active part of your movement. What else are other options? Like what is it? What are other options of movement? It's hard to define that.
I wouldn't want to offer something because I feel like it should be as fundamental as a walk.
Yeah.
I would almost rather have it defined as a 10-minute walk and just if someone would like to deviate from that, great.
Yeah.
But leave it as a walk.
It.
I don't want to overcomplicate it because again, we're introducing labels. Okay. And so for me, the goal is to remove the labels because this thought is accurate, which is in the worldly things, the secular world, the way that we experience life. Jonah, for instance, right? My man's an editing master, right? He can edit the videos. He can do all this stuff. He can teach me how to edit because that's a tangible, real life, actionable skill in life, okay? Once he teaches me how to edit, then I now experience editing through his lens, okay? So he taught me that formula.
Hopefully. Right, because there's a creative element that you might not get.
Well, there is, but my entry point into that experience is his way of editing. So because he provided me that formula and that framework, I experience editing through his lens. In the things that really matter, love, life, happiness, what I would make the case is what we should all be aspiring to have. No one else can teach you that. All they can do is encourage you to question the mistaken beliefs that you currently have about those things. So that's the difficulty that people who have spent time working on these subjects have, is because it's very difficult, if not impossible, to articulate it, because it's one of those things where you have to discover it or you have to be gifted with it at a moment when you didn't expect it to happen. So part of what I offer and part of what I encourage through the anchor habit is I don't promise to be anyone's answer. But what I do promise is I will continuously encourage you to go on a journey of discovering it. That's the thing for me is I don't need to tell you what your anchor habit is. I need to tell you, you need to commit to silence so that your anchor habit or your purpose can be revealed to you. It's not a coming from me or coming from anyone else. It's so that you might discover it within yourself, by yourself, on your own.
Yeah. So let's move into that as we wrap up, because I don't care how long this takes because I love this conversation, but we probably have 15 minutes until we're like hard stop. The idea of discovering your purpose through silence, right? I'll make a comment or two about my experience and make a point that Lauren will appreciate, I think. One of the things that I've realized as I've been in those silent moments, right? So the two experiences in Manresa, running recently, but also the time I spend with Dom, right? Because his thing is to put you in a difficult, stressful situation, be active usually, cold baths, a sauna, or go for a run or jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, to be present in the moment, and then take something that your intention that you need to work on and put it on a whiteboard and discover it yourself. He's not going to coach me through telling me what I need to do. It's just like, it's your thing to work through and figure out. Here's your pen. Go figure it out, right? And so usually when I'm in that situation and I'm working through something, I discover that whatever the solution to my problem is a very simple solution. That as you're going through your day and you're spending your time going through whatever you're doing, even with other people, if you're asking for opinions, it becomes more and more complicated, as opposed to just sitting there and really processing it and thinking like, there's a very simple answer. to it. And like if you just do this one thing, it tends to be a daily habit that if you just do this one additional thing every single day, it will solve the ultimate problem that you're doing. And until you're quiet and you're silent, you don't give yourself the ability to actually spend time and figure what that is.
That's right.
Agree?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, at Manresa, it was just sitting there and reading. I picked up a book in the back of church and brought it with me. And I didn't know that it was going to be a book that I really wanted to read. I just brought it to see what it was like. I had 3 of them with me. I picked that one up first. I read it cover to cover in 6 hours because I just couldn't put it down. But it was just teaching me all these little things that you can do that are just so easy. That it's just like picking your foot up over a dowel that you can do every day that are going to help you become a better spiritual human being, right? So I think that there's something to that, and if you don't give yourself that opportunity, you're not going to be able to discover how simple it is.
You
to
don't
make
get to the
happy.
simplicity.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is, right? And I think our environment teaches us to be opinionated, right? They almost glorify you being opinionated or telling somebody else what they need to be doing, right? And to Jason's point, rather than saying, just figure it out for yourself, and it's incredibly simple. Because at the end of the day, and I talk about this all the time, like, what are we in control of? Ourselves. That's it. Like, right? I aspire every day. I wish in business that we could be in control of every little thing, but that would be miserable for everyone else and for me, right? And business can't go that fast, right? At the end of the day, you're in control of your actions. So how can you best show up that next day? You don't know that until you start trying to look for clarity. Mm-hmm. When you look for clarity, to Jared's point, incredibly simple most of the time.
It's almost like teaching somebody, like if you're like in a leadership perspective and like, you're editing, right? Like, all right, Jason, like this is ABC, right? For me, ABC is simple and it is for you until you learn it, but you got to like teach yourself that, like give yourself that, like it's the easy things. But
they are easy, but we don't think about it.
Because you're in that like leadership perspective, you're helping other people, but it's like you break it down simply for yourself, just like you would for others. Mm-hmm. We never think about it that way. And once you actually make it, like break it down simply, you're like, oh yeah, it is an easy fix. Mm-hmm. Those things are simple.
And then your perspective is different when you approach it.
Yeah.
Rather than it being like this overwhelming, I have this huge editing project. You're like, I'm just doing 1, 2, and 3 again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, and you approach things differently, and then you are reminded like, oh, I'm blessed to be doing, 1, 2, and 3 again.
Yep.
And
so
the
1, 2, and 3 of discovering your own purpose is the idea of inviting silence, movement, breathing habitually every single day. All I'm doing is 1, 2, and 3. I would make the case that there is an answer to every single problem that you're currently sitting with. You just haven't given yourself enough silence to allow for it to be revealed to you. Mm-hmm. That's it. The answer exists. You just haven't created enough space for it to come to you.
Yeah.
And so one of the more profound scriptures that I've ever been exposed to and what really sent me on a path of going deep was Jeremiah 33:3. And it says this. It says, call to me and I will answer you. And I will tell you great and mighty things that you do not know. What I heard when I read that and when it hit me the way that it did was that any and all information that I ever need is available to me if I would simply be open to it and ask for it. And who am I asking for it? I'm not asking another person for it. I'm basically just kind of asking in faith, right? Call it God, I call it God. But when I ask of that and create the space to allow him to provide that information to me, then I get the answers to what I'm looking for. But also too,
or ask your wife.
Or ask my wife. but what'll happen through this process too is that as you spend more time in that way, the expectations that you have of other people are almost entirely removed. Okay. The way that I enjoy this experience is very different than how I have ever been able to in the past. See, earlier you just mentioned, right? We've got 15 minutes before a hard stop. That concept for me is almost not available. I don't really process things in the way of feeling compelled or drawn. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're right. There's another scheduled thing that happens after this. And this is a real point of contention when you deal with other business people and you're considerate of other people's lives, that they expected you to be somewhere at a certain time and you're either not there or you're delayed or something else kept your attention for longer than it was expected to. But from my perspective, I would make the case that the most responsible thing that you can do at any moment is attempt to be as fully invested in that exact moment to the best of your ability, and everything else will figure itself out.
Mm-hmm. I have to check myself on that a lot because I get 100% invested in the moment. And I have to remind myself that there are other people that are involved, but it is 100% true. You miss the opportunities that may be there or the experiences you may have if you're trying to control when those things happen.
If you're locked in, you're locked in. You want to stay locked in.
Oh, 100%.
Are we locked in?
I'm locked in.
Let's keep going. No, I'm kidding.
So that's the challenge, right? Is to remove your natural desire to try to fix other people. Okay? Right? One of the ways...
Stop looking at
who
me.
does that? One of the ways that humans were designed is that I would like for things to be the way that I would like them to be.
Some more than others.
And if there's ever a time when things aren't the way that I would like them to be, then I'm upset.
Mm-hmm.
Big thing that this exercise will do in going through this process and adopting some of the philosophies that I've discovered and sharing this with other people is that will become less important to you. You will be removed from that idea.
Because the truth is that when people haven't recognized that and processed that, then they go about their days not realizing that almost everything they do is attempting to manipulate other people to behave the way that they need them to behave so that they will be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that is phenomenally unhealthy. So, what's the most graduated place that I would encourage people to attempt to aspire to is that, Jared Miguez, I don't need you to be any certain way for me to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jonah Fry, I don't need you to live, act, speak, or do anything for me to be okay. Now, Lauren, I need you. No. But when you grow to that place where entirely 100% of your contentment is an inside game, then everything's a joy. You have a healthy indifference about what happens in your outside world because nothing can disturb you. So anytime that you allow an event to upset you, okay? What's the normal English way of saying it? So-and-so did such and such and it upset me. And it's like, no, or they upset me. So-and-so upset me by the way that they were speaking. And it's like, no. What they said, and they didn't upset you. You allowed that experience to upset you because you don't have appropriate control and appropriate self-control and calmness within you. Once you develop that internal space that's removed from allowing outside forces to disturb you, then what happened? It's simply something that happened. Mm-hmm. A great story behind that. I'm going to let you go first.
I just think that this is like a next layer to a journey of peace and understanding, because that in theory is so easy to conceptualize. But he joked, now, Lauren, I need you to be different. You know, it's a joke, but we also went through that in our marriage, and you go through that with your partners as well. When you have, you know, an environment where you are so closely connected with someone for whatever the reason may be, and we choose, like in our marriage, to honor that as we are one, he then went down this journey of no one can disturb me. But oh crap, now I'm pulling away from my family, because you can do that because he's not a monk and his vocation is a husband and a father. And that's even more difficult. So then you have to find that balance of that peace amongst you and the peace that I will have with you all, to be able to have those conversations, not be triggered, but be able to say like, hey, this is impacting me because we need to talk about helping each other and showing each other these tools so that we're both at peace, so that we're moving in the right direction, right? Because it can impact your existence. It can impact your day to day. And so it's being able to graduate. And I think that that is part of why working on yourself is an everyday thing, because you'll have those challenges every single day. So in concept and in theory, the person that you pass in the street, of course, they can't affect your peace. But your partners, your spouse, your children, right? Those are pieces of your soul.
They should take up
Those
different
are your
space.
heart. They're your heart, you know, and that's a different balance for you to find, and a different point of communication, and a different point of accountability that you have to one another, to truly say like, we are in this together, so we have that responsibility together.
Yeah, and the commitment is different too, for sure.
It
And
is.
the relationship and the purpose of what we're all trying to accomplish. Right? I think that's kind of what ties everything together, right? Like
Same purpose.
From a spousal and children's standpoint, like you have one purpose and intention, and ours is to get to heaven, right? And then from a professional standpoint, you come together and collectively set a purpose and a goal. When you make that type of commitment to those people, it's a little bit different responsibility than somebody that you're passing in the street that you might exist with or interact with on a daily basis that aren't that level of commitment to you and you to them, right? I think that's where the real difference in that
That's
can
that
come to.
alignment. Yep, alignment of purpose, and being reminded too when business gets really hard that we're still trying to get to heaven,
Yeah.
so that I don't go to the unhealed version of Lauren.
There was a,
She's
there was
in there.
a season of our life where I was, and again, Untethered Soul is still an amazing book, but there was a season of our lives where I was so untethered from this reality that it very much made her feel like I didn't have any care or concern for her well-being, because what was necessary for me to work through all of the challenges that I had to work through required so much effort and energy that all of my attention had to be given there, and there was nothing left to be able to offer myself or anything to her.
And
so
the funny part that we learned is like part of him needing to go through that process was running away from the fear of almost losing me. So like while it felt like it had nothing to do with me, it actually had a lot to do with it.
yes.
Because that impacted him a lot more than I thought it did.
And losing you, not, and let's be clear on this.
Oh,
whenever you
yes,
were
death.
sick. Yes, when you
I
were
was
sick, not for
very
any other
ill.
reason. Yeah.
I didn't. Oh, I try to leave him all the time, but he's not letting that happen either.
But the most realistic and the closest point of leaving is
when she has one of those little fits, I just start packing my bag.
Yeah,
Tell her
for
I'm
sure.
going wherever you are, so
I'm coming with
I'm coming with you.
Well, before we sign off, I want to just make clear one thing, that today is St. Patrick's Day. So Jason is wearing a garter in his pocket, but that's only
that he
because
thought
it was the
I wore, and I
only
did not.
green thing that he had at his
Garter,
house.
So
clutch,
there's-
brooch.
there
What?
Is a
what
garter
is
at
it?
my house that some woman wore that was not his wife, that he now has in his pocket all of St. Patrick's Day.
Pocket square.
It's cute.
Yeah, it's a pocket square.
It looks like the
Was
little
it a
ribbon
big
candies.
thigh or a little thigh?
Let's see.
You know?
Let's have a look. See.
It's a little thigh.
I don't know. It could
It-
be. Could be.
Yes,
There's quite a range there,
it's,
baby.
It's stretchable.
Quite a range, and that's also a key piece. Right? Is to be
Nice.
flexible, and
Yes.
be adaptable, and be open-minded.
Back to flexibility again.
Next episode, we'll do toe touches.
Minded.
And,
We'll work
and-
in toe touches.
yeah,
They're
so.
key.
Well, look, I think I could talk about this for days and hours, and probably have a whole bunch. Take each one of those little things and break it into pieces. So,
Yeah.
but I again, as we've gone through the years of your clarity on your purpose and be able to talk about it is becoming better, and I think that you have a lot to say. I think you help a lot of people out. So, while if somebody wants to know you as a professional, you are a financial advisor at Edward Jones, but your real purpose is what you're doing for the people that you interact with.
Sure.
So how do people learn more about you as an influencer on social media and an influencer and a sister of people?
Sure.
Where do people find you?
So on Instagram, it's Jason Navarre is here is the handle, and on TikTok, it's Jason is here, and you can just go to jasonnavarre.com. But I think that there's a key point there to what you just made, right? My profession and my secular participation in the world involves helping people to grow wealth and navigate the challenges that are inherent of wealth. But as a part of that process, I think what most people come to realize is as they grow to have more wealth, they realize that happiness doesn't exist at the end of a certain number in your bank account. And so most of my work, to your point, in one-on-one sessions, completely discretionary, no judgment, full acceptance, is to help people discover that no physical item is going to be the source of their happiness, that most of the time it's the removal of the labels that they had previously been programmed to think would make them happy that will ultimately wind up allowing them to experience peace.
And for that reason, his clients try to move in with us. We've had stalkers, and no, he becomes very good friends with his clients. A whole nother level.
Yeah. Well, very cool, man. Appreciate you coming on. Again, we could talk for hours, but this would be a good little taste into what we could potentially talk about as many times as we want to talk about it. So thanks for coming talk to us, buddy.
Of course. Thank y'all for having me.